This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Now, many believe that we are here for a specific reason. We have a purpose. We were given certain talents, certain abilities, even before we were born. And the goal is to identify that and live in your purpose so you live your best life and then you support others. What's your purpose? What's your higher purpose? We're going to talk about that today. Delve deep into it as we usually do when he's with us as a healer, intuitive. He's a life coach, hypnotherapist, acupuncturist. Lots of insight coming from our professional of the year. Distefano is back with us. And how are things with you today?
Going great, thanks. How about you, Steve?
Good. This higher purpose thing comes up often in my world. And especially, I shared with you, I'm part of a men's group. We get together once a week. In our group, it's a part of a larger tribe of about 8 to 10 men. And I'd have to say every week, there's a reference to your purpose or your higher purpose. And a lot of that also comes from what you're doing on a daily basis. We have commitments. We make commitments to ourselves, and then we're held accountable for it. And that commitment could be go to the gym 4 times. If what you're doing on a daily basis doesn't support your higher purpose, then you're going in the wrong direction. That's the belief. But I guess square one is, what is your purpose? How do you identify why we're here? What are your thoughts?
Well, first I'm going to slightly segue because I was doing a coaching call with a colleague yesterday, and she was running into difficulties accomplishing things. The negative voice in her head, instead of going to the gym, she was recuperating. Instead of going and finding out her limits, there was a fear, there was a perfectionism underneath it. And where we ended up was, we're not going to be perfect. That's not the goal. The goal is to be our best. And the gratitude of going, the appreciation that her body is able to do what it can, and the understanding that from there we move forward. So it's shifting. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is what you're describing with purpose and action and everything else is when we're operating from the head, we're making, in general, fear-based decisions. They're based on scarcity. They're based on what we might call common sense. They're based on what other people have told us. When we're operating from the heart, we're making decisions from our authentic true self. Those are decisions that have the long view. Now, I'm going to segue even further because I was in a class and we were having a discussion. And I asserted that, and this does not resonate well with anyone that's in it. I used to be deeply in depression and I had really fantastic anxiety. That's a choice. Everything ultimately is a choice. And one of my colleagues said back, well, that's because she's a trained therapist. And in therapy, it's usually managing effectively these conditions where I believe, because I've done it, that they can be cured and one can live in happiness. So where's this choice? The choice ultimately is, and she brought up, does an alcoholic have a choice? The answer is yes. Does a drug addict have a choice? The answer is yes. But the choice comes in when the person, as we say, hits bottom. And continuing on the path based on fear, the subconscious will do what is destructive if it's familiar, because the familiar has a certain degree of safety. It's the known, even if it's not good. So when that person hits bottom, it's no longer tenable to continue the well-worn habitual tracks. And then the behavioral modification comes in and the tough choice is made. And that steers the person, more often than not, onto their true path. I'm not saying there's only one true path, but there are certainly detours that are not serving where we're headed. Now, just to bring us back, and then I'm sure you have a few things to ask, but just to bring us back, I want to cover two things. I started reading this book, fantastic book, Thinking and Destiny. And there's just a couple of things I'd like to read. This is literally page 1 of chapter 1. To understand what you are, you must first see clearly the distinction between yourself and the body you live in. That's a lot like saying, I am my house. No, I live in my house. My house is where I call home. And the eternal soul, the part of us, that spark of life, is in the body for this story. But we have a meta story. This is a chapter in a bigger story. And the earlier quote says, the real purpose of life, the purpose that will satisfy both sense and reason, is this, that each one of us will be progressively conscious in ever higher degrees of being conscious. That is, conscious of nature and in and through and beyond nature. So it's really getting to be present with ourselves and not running on autopilot.
Lots of questions here.
I hope you wrote them down.
I did up here. Good. If we go back to the beginning of what you said, that, and I do subscribe to, we have choice. We have freedom of choice. What we do 5 seconds from now, 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years, it's our choice ultimately. And many of us ride in victim mode, or we're addicted to suffering, and or we'll say, I can't believe that happened to me. Why? What am I going to do? You have a choice how you're going to react. When it comes to somebody who is has an addiction, drugs, alcohol, I've never heard it said you have a choice, but I guess ultimately you do. You have a choice to get some help. So there is a choice in everything. How do we get to that point where we strip away all this stuff so that our true purpose can be closer revealed? You know, quiet out the noise and all of that. So as you just said there, you know, how do we get closer there?
That's why I call what I do accelerated coaching. Because a lot of the conventional, right now, we are in the greatest time to be alive. The amount of change happening at every level, our access to the outside and inside world has never been more in recorded history. And we have to know that. We have to empower ourselves by removing the limits. You see, the person who's stuck in addictive and habitual behavior, choice is a beautiful paradox, because almost everything we do, 99% of it, is habit. But we can choose to recondition the habit. And a lot of people have been told and believe that they cannot change. And once you believe it, you're not going to be able to. That's why so many people have to, as we say, hit bottom. But if someone could just be like, I'm a little uncomfortable with what I'm doing, and they're aware that they can change with or without outside support. You know, obviously, some people, outside support is the greatest thing in the world. Some people, internal reflection and coming to their true self. So we challenge. One of the tools I love is getting out of victim mode, because our society sells victim mode hard because it empowers the people that are in power. But when we go into creator mode, how did I bring this into my life? Why did I bring this into my life? What do I have to learn from this? How is this part of my growth? By taking ownership of the good and the so-called bad, and being grateful for all of it, being grateful for my resiliency, being grateful for learning, that begins to empower us to make increasingly rapid and radical shifts, but not only to get the change, but to sustain the new habituation and create new patterns to replace the toxic ones.
I keep a gratitude journal, and I would say usually once a week. And there's different fields that I fill out. $8, Amazon, best ever spent. there's fields for your affirmations and what would make today great. And of course, the things you're grateful for. Resilience, I usually write once a week because I feel that in my journey. I piloted through certain challenges and never realized I ever would. So yeah, resilience is a big one. Coming up for me, I hear from a lot of people that those words, that many of us are addicted to suffering, and that's getting in the way of realizing the things that we're talking about. I know it's a pivot over here for a moment, but why would you want to be addicted to suffering? Why do we do that?
I can only speak from my own experience. And it's because the suffering is the familiar. These are the habits we've built. Like when, I'm younger, self-esteem issues, whatever, I'm not good enough. So I'm going to put up a barrier to trying stuff that's going to make me look like a fool. Or I'll be shy because I don't want to have to engage and face the rejection that might bring me down. So I'll just withdraw. The most toxic of them, at least for me and for people I work with, I can't say most, but very common, is so we go into, with our partners, with our family, with our familiar people, we start to enter a dance, and the dance gets programmed and it's habitual. Let's say you have a partner who gets emotional and may raise their voice a little bit, and so then I'm going to feel attacked and I'm going to respond in a way that's not diffusing the situation. So we enter this toxic dance out of habit, and pretty soon it's always going to happen because we're not operating from consciousness. We're operating on autopilot. So even though these don't serve either of us, doesn't serve the relationship, it's the familiar dance. Without having habits, we couldn't function. We can't do everything consciously. Think about it. You learn baseball. How? By throwing and catching the ball thousands of times until it's muscle memory. By hitting the ball until it happens without thinking, because thinking is too slow. We do that with all of life. And so by taking the ownership again and not blaming someone else, by being like, what can I do to shift this dance? How can I be more present? How can I raise the vibration? Not how do I go into the downward spiral?
Ultimately, it comes back to choice now, doesn't it?
It comes back to choice, and it comes down to, for real, we have to challenge our beliefs, because what we think we know, the most toxic is the friggin' thought pattern for me would be, I say something to someone, they respond, I feel defensive, I attack, I put up walls, I start thinking and block feeling. Those walls that protect me are prison walls. Those thoughts in anxiety, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, challenge the veracity and the track record of that voice. Because I promise you, if you were on a subway, you would push that guy off onto the tracks, because it is a liar and it's vindictive and it's hurtful, and it puts the body and the mind through various levels of hell without benefit.
Been there, done that. I get it. And I can even think back 5 years ago, 6 years ago, thoughts that I had. And it was a lot of like you just said, the what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if, income changes? Then what am I going to do? I had no reason to think that. There was none. It was thinking of the future, the what ifs. And also, I think part of it was not having, I guess, the trust in myself that something changes, figure it out. Because that's what I think now. Whatever. I'm not worrying about it.
That's where it gets even better. Because number one, you were running a script.
I was.
You were on autopilot. You were on a conditioned script of scarcity and lack that's put into us to disempower us.
I was.
Now, we've had these conversations. I'm going to go a little deeper. I dance with my world and my world dances back. So not only having faith in yourself, but anyone that's ever seen synchronicities that understands there's more than just billiard balls. This is an interactive consciousness model of reality. Your world also takes care of you. Things have always happened just in time for me. And I'm sure other people have had this. It's like, and right in time, something drops in, because that's part of the game. We believe in the limits, but in fact, our true nature is unlimited. That's why most of the things we're programmed with are not correct, but we have to see through that.
So back to finding our purpose. How do you know when you've nailed it? How do you know, or even just in the zone of this is what I should be doing because this is who I am?
That's so easy. I'm having a hard time coming up with the words.
Better you than me, because I got nothing.
As Vadim Zeland says in the Reality Transurfing books, because your heart sings, because you feel flow, because everything, every cell in your body is happy. Because even if it's challenging, there's that beautiful reward in it at the same time. That's how you know. You know, because depending on what you're doing, you may get increased synchronicities. You may get things coming into your life that are like, wow, I'm supporting this. And again, there may be challenges, but it's different from the world putting the walls up where you're just banging your head against it. It feels completely different.
In my journey, and this is even in the last few months, I'm seeing a lot of this come clear. And I'm seeing things that don't support, even if it's working with other people in a business sense, where this seemed like a great idea. It's going to be fantastic. We'll work together, blah, 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 blah. And as time goes on, I realize, no, that's not, you just know. When you know, you know. And it's like, no, that's not not working for me and what I feel my purpose is. Something over here, I have to make a phone call today regarding this, and it's just making changes because that's not working. I feel it. You just know. There's no flow. There's no flow. That's a great word.
Yes. As in the most normal sense, the way I would have phrased it, the old me is, it seemed like a good idea on paper.
Okay.
And you know what I mean? It's a great idea until the rubber hits the road. It's like, oh, that was not a great idea.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? The rubber may have hit the road and it seems okay. Maybe it wasn't, exactly as it was on paper. Things change. But then when the rubber hits the road, the car is swerving all over and wobbly. And then you really know. And
this is circling back. You had said something earlier that I love. It's like, why does this keep happening to me? Because we hold patterns, and the world, our intelligence, higher self, whatever word you want to use, will continue to give us opportunities to release those patterns. Now, for you to release, or, for me to release a pattern of stickiness, let's say, inability to pivot in a certain context, I am going to get repeated opportunities at increasing volume that provide me the opportunity to pivot when appropriate. Generally, I'll have to trust myself against what logic may even tell me, because I'll just know this is not the direction I should be going.
Are you saying, Chris, that the universe, if you will throw things in front of you to show you the way, but are you going to allow those beliefs that you have to get in the way, so to speak?
This whole thing is a set of infinity mirrors. So yes, the mirror is fully reflecting the areas that my growth, my disconnect from my consciousness is still holding. And what's really wild is I was doing some breath work last night. Simple box breathing and a couple of other things, alternate nostril. It is really deep in my meditation. I was having a great time. And I've worked on stuff for a long time. Still focusing, being able to just focus on the counting of the breath was a challenge for me to hold for more than a short period of time. That's my level of distraction versus consciousness. That's my level that I'm working on. And when we fall into these autopilot states, we don't see people as people, we see them as labels. We react and treat them based on caricatures without, you see, one of my biggest things, we spoke about this last time, is authentic connection through vulnerability and openness. Without that, there's not real communication. And so when we're assigning these caricatures, we're fully in autopilot, bouncing off of, Barbie and Ken doll, and not a human being. And that's part of my purpose right now, is deepening that level of connecting at the human level.
Beautiful. And by the way, to further validate what you said, I had my meeting with my men's group last night, and one man, he has lots of challenges. He's very strong-willed, and he's just kind of all over the place, trying to decide where he's going. And we said, have you ever taken some time and just sat by yourself in quiet? And he's like, no, do that now. It will be profound. What comes from that? Is it always easy? No, but just to your point, like, I look forward to quiet, breathing. Even if it's in a busy time situation, I'll just stare at something and it takes me away, but gives clarity. We're out of time. I know you have two ways that people can contact you, scarsdalehealth.com. One of those, that's for acupuncture. And is it level3coaching.com?
Level3coaching.com.
Spelled out. Yep, gotcha. A lot of insight today. Appreciate it. And
always a pleasure. Thank you.
And by the way, I just want to say thank you for your transparency, because that takes courage. And with that, we all learn. We see things in ourselves when we hear the stories of others. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Start it off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.